and welcome to Babble Scribbler, a place where we talk about pastel horse literature. Wait, no, we don't. A place where we're doing a random podcast on something other than pastel horse literature. This is a revitalized, repurposed old podcast that I did years ago, and we've decided to bring it back again so that we can effectively make an entire podcast out of the tangents that happen on them's writing words, and also invite new cast members. So, without further ado, I shall introduce you to everybody. I'm Scribbler. I will be the moderator today, in as much as I ever moderate things. I introduce BlackIrisBalloon.
Hi, I'm BlackIrisBalloon, but just shorten it to Iris just to keep everybody sane.
Goombasa.
Hi, I'm Goombasa, longtime collaborator. I'm sure somebody recognizes me from the other podcast that Scribbler has done.
Mami Dulugo.
Hi, I'm Mami. I do a lot of thumbnail art and behind-the-scenes shit, and sometimes I do voice stuff for some reason.
Best Applejack.
Shut up. You shut your mouth.
See?
Fuck you.
And Starryflame.
Hi, I am totally awake right now, and I do I do pony voices. That
What do you do?
I make noises with my mouth.
See, that can be taken multiple different ways.
I intended it to. Oh god, I'm really bad with words.
Clearly you're channeling Xena while he's not here.
Yay! Someone has to.
Right, so the premise of this podcast is going to be childhood media, or media that scared/scarred us as children. Now, we're from various different walks of life. I am, sadly, the oldest of this podcast, but I know that Goombasa remembers some of the media that I will be bringing up.
Yes.
But since we cover quite a lot of the age range, we'll be talking about various different things. So we hope you will join us for our insanity and random tangents and probably dick jokes.
Oh, that's already passed.
Yeah, there is supplementary words. There is supplementary material that we did record before this that I'll be uploading as a separate video because it was just too good not to. But it didn't have anything to do with what we're talking about here. So that will be like I'll probably just call it like supplementary material number 1 or something boring like that. Anyway, Iris, you want to kick us off?
Sure. I'm pretty much got the shortest list here because I never really got attracted to a lot of creepy stuff as a kid, but the one that I personally remember that actually gave me nightmares, that gave a bunch of other kids I knew nightmares. Return the slab or suffer my curse.
Nope, bye.
I don't get the reference.
I am very confuzzled.
It's from Courage the Cowardly Dog, King Ramses, and it gave me and a bunch of other kids in the neighborhood nightmares.
I must have missed that one.
Wait, was that the CGI character who seemed rooted to the ground and had a kind of triangular shape and
Yes.
wafting hat? Right,
Yes.
I've seen that
That's the
visual.
one.
I never got into Courage the Cowardly Dog, so why did that scare you so much?
Well, because it's like the early 2000s, I was 6, CGI was bad and creepy, and they milked that for all it was worth.
And they only ever fucking played it at 2 in the goddamn morning.
Or like 10 p.m., which was the latest I was able to sneak away and actually watch TV.
What was his name?
King Ramses from Courage the Cowardly Dog.
And you left out the song that they played too, the Ramses or whatever
That wasn't
played in
scary.
the background. Ooh. No, that shit freaked me the fuck out. That fucking chanting shit. Ooh, I hated that.
Oh, the chanting one. I thought you meant like the one on the record player.
Oh, no, that too. Oh, fuck, I forgot about that. Oh.
Apparently this is enough that it sent Mami into paroxysms of horror, just of the memory.
This was on my list too. You have no fucking clue how terrified of that thing I was. That thing gave me so many fucking panic attacks when I was a kid. I remember one time, I think I said this in Discord chat already, but I don't care, I'm telling it here. I was in the country, like the country, like Missouri country, where you're just surrounded by corn hell. And I was hanging out at a friend's house, and it was like 3 a.m, totally dark. You look out the window, all you see is just miles of corn wasteland. Everyone's asleep. I'm in the living room watching the TV, and that fucking show came on, and that was the only channel they got. So that was all I could watch for light. So I had to sit there and listen to that goddamn song and try not to look out the window, which looked exactly like the setting of the show.
See, how about that applies to me right now?
I explicitly started sleeping with a nightlight after I saw that episode.
Yes.
Up until I was like 10.
Goombasa, you had something to say?
I was just going to say, I find it very interesting that Ramses affected so many people this way, because when it comes to Courage, the only episode that ever freaked me out was the one with Freaky Fred, which, by the way, is also getting a reanimated short with a bunch of animators working on it, and it looks like it's going to be so good.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, I posted that one in Vic Reader chat. I had to read up on Freaky Fred because I never got into Courage the Cowardly Dog. By the time that came out, I was doing my A-levels and off to university, so it was a bit after my time to want to watch. But when I went back and looked at some stuff, when you guys mentioned it and when the Reanimated project came out, am I right in thinking that's a giant analogy for child molestation?
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
That's his whole character.
That seems rather close to the wind for a children's cartoon. Goombasa, for the benefit of listeners like me who don't know anything about Freaky Fred, tell us what his deal is.
Okay, so the idea is Freaky Fred was one of the one-off villains from Courage the Cowardly Dog, and his whole thing was that he was a barber, or as Eustace calls him, he's a freaky barber. And he is obsessed with shaving hair off of everything. Like, it's a compulsion for him. He can't stand it. And he's visiting Muriel because apparently she is his aunt. And he sees Courage. And for the better part of the episode, he and Courage are locked in the bathroom together. And he spends the entire episode telling stories about all the people and animals he has shaved bald, while he is systematically shaving Courage bald as well. And it's just freaky and incredibly uncomfortable, and he speaks in fucking rhyme, and oh my god, it just makes me squirm whenever I think of it.
Freaky Fred never really freaked me out, ironically. Probably because he's more of like a psychological thing. Like he has to specifically make you uncomfortable scared, and I was an idiot when I was a kid.
And we were 8 when that episode came out.
Yeah, I was just used to a lot of like uncomfortable media and awkward humor and shit. Like a lot of my family members are weird, so like weird personalities didn't really set me off. So he just didn't freak me out, not the way fucking Ramses did.
I just Googled him and he looks very creepy, but I don't know much about Courage, but I remember being on holidays, I think, I can't remember how old I was, maybe 11, 12, and the plunger episode happened, and I remember, like, it creeped me really a lot, and I remember looking at I never could look at plungers the same way again. You know, like you plunge the head off someone.
Oh yes, the one where the chicken comes back.
Yeah, it's a headless chicken, I think.
The chicken from outer space. What was the full name of that episode?
Yeah, something like that. I haven't seen it, but I just remember it was just so disturbing to me.
I think Courage the Cowardly Dog can be summed up as, this was made for kids?
Okay, in fairness, a lot of older American kids cartoons were kind of weird. Like Ed, Edd n Eddy, it skirted the line sometimes. And by sometimes, I mean a lot of the time, like every episode.
That was mostly like surrealist humor. Like, Courage actively creeped you out.
And there were also a lot of movies, too. Like, moving on to another subject, when I was really, really young, my parents let me watch a lot of the original Don Bluth movies, which I think a lot of people can point to as being...
Secret of Nim. Hang on. That's going to be my suggestion for things that fucked me up as a child.
It wasn't just that, either. Like, I also watched the original Land Before Time, which was emotionally traumatizing.
Oh.
The original American Tail was really bad about that. But for me, a lot of the more nightmare imagery that was in Rockadoodle, which a lot of people see as one of his worst films, was still pretty disturbing if you were at the right age for it. That was the one that I ended up watching the most as a kid, and it freaked me out all the time for some reason.
Yep, I 100% agree. Don Bluth did say, in the 80s, don't pander to children. Don't talk down to them. If you give them mature storytelling, they can handle it. Don't go out of your way to frighten them, but don't pull your punches. And I've got to say, as an 80s kid, and to a less extent his stuff in the 90s, it was true. I definitely found that where his imagery and his villains and his maturity failed was when he made the Disney knockoff Anastasia.
Oh, I love that film.
See, I like the film, but the villain was poor. It wasn't up to snuff with his other movies.
Yeah.
Rasputin did scare me a little bit, so...
Okay, so why did Rasputin scare you, Starry?
Because I was a scaredy cat, and he was a bad guy. So...
Oh. Considering the thing I've got to admit to in a minute, I can't say too much about you.
Like, compared to, like, the other times I've run out of the room, like, he didn't scare me to the most point, but I didn't... As an adult, when I rewatch the films, I'm like, yeah, actually, his songs are pretty cool, and it would be cool to know more about his backstory. But as a kid, I was just like, oh no, we're back to him again. Also, Bartok helped, because he was not as evil.
Oh, that was the entire idea.
And then somehow Bartok got 2 spin-off direct-to-video movies for some reason.
I kind of liked one of them, though.
Hang on. 2? I've seen 1. I've seen the first one. There's 2?
There is 2, yes.
What's the second one about?
I only know that because the second one was for rent at my local library. I have not watched it. I have no idea what it's about.
Did you even, like, read the blurb or something?
No, I was just like, I guess that's a thing. And then I moved on because I wanted to watch actual Disney films that were on the shelf.
Yeah.
I remember begging my mom when we were at the video show, I'm like, can I rent this one, please? And she let me, and I watched it, and I enjoyed it at the time.
See, just going back to Don Bluth's Secret of Nim for a second, I remember when I was growing up, we didn't have a lot of money. So renting a video was like this massive thing we did once a month. And there was this place down the road from us called ViStar Video. And I've no idea why it's called that, but it's always stuck in my head that we went to ViStar Video. And it was this big deal. And you go into this one shelf that was their children's section. And in, like, retrospect, it was this, like, the entire shop was the size of someone's small bedroom. But it was massive to me because I was a little kid. And I was genuinely scared of the video cassette case of The Secret of Nim.
Really?
And I don't know what it was, something about the imagery of the characters on either side, dark and set in dark relief to Mrs. Brisby in the middle, leering inwards and this ethereal glow behind her. It just kind of freaked me out and made me feel a bit scared because it was unlike any of the other video cases around. And I would, when I had to go past it, because my favorite one was Totally Mini, and I would get that one a lot. And I would rent this, and it was bright and sparkling, and it was Minnie Mouse meets the 80s. But to get to that one, I had to go past The Secret of Nim. So I, as a small child, would duck down and crouch and hunker past this thing underneath it as if the characters could see me.
They're always watching.
The mice are gonna get you.
And then I would grab the Totally Mini and run for the desk going, Mum, I want this one. Again, yes, we can have it.
I feel like I've done that, but I don't think it was at box tapes. I just remember running a lot.
It happens when you're a little kid. The weirdest stuff freaks you out. I mean, it's a video cassette tape. That doesn't hurt you. Well, unless you're watching Videodrome.
I got a similar story.
Go on,
I
Starry.
remember there was like a... It's actually kind of funny, like nowadays when I pass this church, at the top of the church they had the... It's a little hard to explain. It's like a cross, but if you imagine like a compass rooster or whatever they're called, it's kind of like that. That's how they've set it up on top of a tall building. And when I was little, my brother and I, we used to pretend there was an evil genie on top of it, and we would take shots at it and duck down as the car passed it and hope that the genie didn't see us. And nowadays when I go past this church in a bus or a car, I'm just like, oh dear, we were so weird.
So wholesome.
I think everybody's got childhood stories like that. Does anybody else have anything, like things that they like weird stuff they hid from or tried to, or thought was looking at them when they were little?
Yeah, one of my things I was scared of is Darth Maul when I was a kid.
Oh,
I don't blame you.
Yeah. Well, see, I liked the character. Like, when I was actually watching the movies, I didn't mind him, but my uncle lived in my grandma's basement for a while, and as, like, a kind of partition, I guess, when you went down the stairs to go into the basement, he had this Darth Maul towel hanging up, so that it was like a doorway you passed through, and every time I came over, he had to, like, dejectedly take the towel down because I would see it and just scream. Like, 4 or 5 years old, I hated it. I wouldn't go near the basement because I felt like it could see me and it was waiting for me to turn the corner. He just freaked me out so bad.
So you could say he threw the towel in, huh?
Ba-doom-tsh.
I regret nothing.
It was like a defining childhood moment when I could go down the stairs and walk past the towel.
Ray, we take our victories where we can. Goombasa, do you have anything like that?
Nothing that I can really think of outside of, like, just watching movies and shows that are sort of burned into my mind, because there was nothing outside of those that really freaked me out. And there's a lot of stuff on this island that could potentially be like that. We have a lot of older churches on the island, a lot of very visible cemeteries and graveyards all over the place. But really, it was mostly the media that I consumed that freaked me out.
Okay, then, so getting back to the purpose of the podcast, which we're 17 minutes in and we've veered away from quite a lot, what media most scared/scarred you as a child, then?
Movies, I think. I mostly avoided, like, straight up horror. And even to this day, it's still not one of my favorite genres. But I never dealt well with, like, emotional scenes in movies. Like, it took almost nothing to get me crying at anything. The ending from Dragonheart, I couldn't handle very well. I was crying for hours after I saw that movie. But I think one of the worst ones for me was the movie Bicentennial Man, the Robin Williams movie. Because if you ever saw the commercials for that movie, it made it seem like it was going to be a pretty straightforward comedy about a robot played by Robin Williams who wanted to become human, and all of the misadventures he gets in on the way. They never hinted at the fact that because he is 200 years old by the end of the movie, everyone he loves in his life ends up dying before him. And there are like 3 or 4 scenes in that movie where it's just him sitting next to them as they're breathing their last, saying goodbye to them, as he slowly becomes more and more human because he wants to die like they do. He wants to become fully human. And I'm like, this was not in the advertising.
Wow, that seems like it was advertised poorly.
What was the rating?
It was PG. It was rated for most audiences.
I would have expected that to have come out in the 80s like that.
Yeah, again, I was not prepared for it because I was still like, I think I was at least 10 or 11 when I first saw that movie, but I still was not mentally prepared to have that much sadness thrown on me at once. And there was comedy in the movie, but it was so heavily overshadowed by the themes of living and dying and what it meant to be human. Like, it was just way more than I was prepared to handle.
Wow, I'm just sort of shocked at the idea of it's dark irony that Robin Williams was in a film about a robot becoming human because it wanted to die, and he ended up committing suicide.
Yeah, I still miss him.
Me too, to be honest. I've only gotten into his stand-up routines after he passed. And I had no idea how good his stand-up was, because I didn't even know him as a movie star. Like the family film guy.
Yeah, it was incredibly different.
I actually stumbled across like his stand-up because it was like a YouTube recommendation like a couple years before his death.
Whoops. Starry, you had something to say?
Oh, I don't know if I'm right on this. Wasn't some of his lines as the genie weren't they ad-libbed?
Most of them were.
Most of them.
There are actually pencil tests on YouTube of like pencil animations that they did for a lot of the ad-lib stuff that didn't make it into the movie. And most of them are pretty damn hilarious. In fact, what convinced him to take on the role of the genie was they did, again, a pencil test animation of the genie set to his old stand-up routines. And he was laughing so hard at them that he immediately signed on for the film.
Iris?
I'm literally like 50% sure that part of the script for Aladdin was like for Robin Williams' lines, which just said genie and whatever Robin says.
There's probably like a baseline and then let Robin just decide how he was going to phrase it with anything in between.
They did let him record first, so I imagine that's because they needed to make sure that the other actors reacted to his lines in a way that made sense.
Could you imagine
It's
that
like-
every take was something different?
Well, yeah, it would have been. Yeah, when you look back at some of the stuff, they've got recordings of him in the studio. Even the stuff that didn't make it as far as pencil tests is phenomenal. Yeah, he was a great talent. Goombasa?
It's amazing to see what he could do as an improv actor. It's kind of like how, I don't know how true this is, but there's also a rumor going around that in movies that are written specifically around Jim Carrey playing the main character, there are just scenes where it just says Jim Carrey acts like Jim Carrey written into the script, and that's all it says.
Wouldn't surprise me. I imagine there's quite a lot of comedians and other actors now who are good at ad-libbing, who their scenes are given a direction and an end point, and then they just kind of let loose.
I know explicitly the janitor from Scrubs. That was one I know explicitly.
Yes! He made up all of his comebacks, and he made up his own name. They hadn't given the character a name, and he came up with it, and they went, we're not going to come up with anything funnier than that.
What was the name?
Glenn Matthews was a name he gave at the end of the show. Season 8, at the end of season 8. But then he immediately answers to a different name when an orderly passes by. So no one knows for sure.
So, okay then. So, since I'm working my way down the list, Mami, what media freaked you out as a child?
Well, for me, it was a lot of video games because I have an older brother. So I would sit and I would watch him play and, try and fail to play them for myself. And one that we played a lot when we were kids was Resident Evil, the director's cut. So I was completely fine with most of the game. Like the zombies, normally totally cool. The zombie dogs, the jump scare didn't even bother me. The one part that I had to look away from the screen or just not be in the room for, I would get up and leave the room and come back when the scene plays, was the very first time you met a zombie. That little cinematic where you round the corner and you see the body and then you see the zombie and it's just this close-up shot of its face and that slow head turn as it looks at you. That shit freaked me the fuck out. I would leave the room just so I didn't have to see it. Okay, and the closet jump scare. There's one jump scare in that entire game that scared me really, really bad and made me paranoid around closets. I would open closet doors just to be sure it wouldn't happen. And it's the part where you go into a room and you read a journal, and as soon as you're done reading the journal entry, there was a zombie in the closet that pops out at you and tries to attack you. That shit scared the piss out of me.
See, it's made even worse by the fact that this was PlayStation graphics, so it always kind of looked a little bit more uncanny, especially in the early PlayStation CG. The CG cutscenes just look horrifying, even when they're not meaning to. So in a horror game that's trying to scare you, I honestly think it's more effective that it's more low poly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to pose just this is purely out of curiosity. I'll start with Mami, but on this one, what do you think of the Resident Evil movies? Go on!
Okay, listen. Resident Evil 1 and 2, the movies, as their own thing, they're not bad. I enjoyed watching them. I think that the second one in particular is almost good in a way. It's not great. I'm not a huge fan of the random let's be real, Mary Sue character that just pops up to be sad and have drama when Jill is right there and perfectly usable. But it's fine, as a horror movie, it's perfectly passable. The soundtrack is fucking dope. Marilyn Manson hit that one out of the park. But the other ones, I still haven't seen some of them because I saw some of the scenes and they were just so bad, especially the ones that try to adapt elements from Resident Evil 5, which is one of the worst Resident Evil games.
6 would like a word with you.
No. I don't care. Fight me. Resident Evil 5 is terrible.
I'm not saying it's
what anyone
good.
thinks.
I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying 6 is a shit
It's
show.
bad. Okay, I'm really gonna make some people mad here. I don't think Resident Evil 4 is a good Resident Evil game. It's a good game. It's not a good Resident Evil game.
Isn't that the one with Ashley?
They switched that third-person action.
Yeah, that's where the horror tone of the series really started to disappear until Resident Evil 7.
Because how
Yeah.
can you be scared when you're roundhouse kicking zombies all the time?
I always went for the suplex. I don't know what you were doing.
Roundhouse kick. Like I could put a guitar riff over the roundhouse kick, and that would sound awesome. That would just match the tone of what I was doing.
What do you think of the Resident Evil movies, Goombasa?
They're movies. They exist. I actually have only ever seen the first one, and that was enough for me to say, you know what, life's too short. I honestly think that they would be perfectly stupid, fun watches if you wanted to watch something ironically, if they didn't have the Resident Evil name attached, because when people watch something with a well-known brand or series name attached to it, they have certain expectations. And I'm not saying that Resident Evil is totally consistent in its tone. Like, it can get straight up ridiculous at times. You go back and play the very original one now, that voice acting is just, it's so bad that it's wonderful.
Good.
Yes. Jill Sandwich, Master of Unlocking, all that good stuff. But I honestly think that the series might have been better if it just dropped the Resident Evil moniker altogether, because then there's no preconceived notions that people go in for. And I also wish that the director would stop making them specifically just to give his wife work, because that's the only reason the series has gone on as long as it has.
Well, he did try and break away by making The Three Musketeers. And he also gave her the role of Lady and made her an action star in The Three Musketeers. The fuck? She's meant to be a master of subterfuge, not just another Alice.
Yeah. Oh, Alice.
I thought that movie was okay.
It was okay, but it was very clear that he was trying to make another franchise because Resident Evil was on its last legs. Iris, what do you think of the Resident Evil movies? I'm genuinely curious about this because I have a history with the first movie.
I have never seen any of the Resident Evil movies, and I have never been, nor will I ever be in the near future interested in playing a Resident Evil game, even though I acknowledge their place in gaming history and culture.
Right, we have a dissenter in the ranks. See, I'm not a proper gamer, so I've never played them, but that's not because I don't want to. It's because I don't game.
It's not that I don't think the games are bad. They're just not my style. That's not the game I want to play.
No, understandable. Starry, have you seen the Resident Evil movies? This is a genuine question because I can never quite tell with you if I'm going to get sweet and innocent Starry or this weird, violent, sexualized thing.
Oh my
They're
god.
My
Same.
money's on innocent right now. $10.
So I don't do well with horror, for one, but
That's not horror.
I-
You're schlock, if that.
I am really bad with if I watch people play horror games and stuff, I usually tab it so I can barely see the game in case of jump scares. That's how bad I am. I know a little bit about Resident Evil, but not enough to actually warrant a valid opinion, I think. I know of Ashley and I know how annoyed people were playing with her.
See, I'd never played the games. I didn't even know the games were a thing. I saw the first Resident Evil, and I, as a child and a teenager, was horrifically bad at horror movies. Considering now I watch them and laugh at them, I
I didn't know they were movies.
Well, I had no tolerance for any of this kind of stuff. Also, the only reason I had a PlayStation was that we bought it out of the paper for £10 from somebody, and it had a Pokemon game attached. Not Pokemon, a Digimon game. And that's all I wanted at the time. Duh. So I didn't really have a relationship with gaming. That said, when I went off to university, I was trying my best to make friends. because I wasn't very good at that. So I decided to join what was called the Cinema Club, which just meant that reels from old cinemas in the area, when they finished these reels, they would give them to the student cinema, and we'd watch it in the lecture hall all together. And it'd be once a week. We'd gather on a Saturday, and whatever had just gone off the cinema, whatever blockbuster there was, we'd get to see it. And everybody went down this first week, and it was everybody in my hall of residence. I was like, I don't know what they're playing. I usually vet my films quite thoroughly to make sure that I'm not going to get scared or freaked out, but I want to make friends, and everybody's going, so I went. Didn't fucking Resident Evil turn up on the screen, and I'm like, oh no! So I'm literally watching this film from behind my hands because, fuck. But the one scene that got me in that movie that made me think, holy fuck, I can never watch horror again, which, then became a grimdark author.
Horror?
Yeah, it was the corridor scene in the first film.
Yep.
Where the laser learns. That was like nightmare fuel. That it goes along, it accidentally cuts off the doctor's head. It goes along, somebody jumps up, so it raises up and cuts him in half. It cuts off somebody's leg. And then you got the one guy at the end who I thought he was going to make it to the end. He had all the characteristics of a heroic male character. And it turns into a fucking net. And there's bits, and it goes out of focus. And I like the fact that, because the CG wouldn't have been very good, when it goes through him, bits start dropping off. And I'm there going, in the front row of this cinema going, I can't go to the exit. Everybody's watching. Yeah. So I found the first film genuinely scary to begin with.
I do think that one scene is like a pretty good example of well and true grimdark horror, because there is no escaping that situation, and there's that little moment where you think maybe one of them's gonna get out, but then it turns into the net and you're like, oh no.
Yeah. So I can't even say that was like me as a child, because I was like 18 when that happened, but that
Understandable.
That freaked me out like crazy. Oh god.
Now that you mentioned Digimon, that was another series that sort of hit me hard at times too.
Leomon,
and then Leomon again. And
Wait,
then
which
Leomon
Leomon?
a
Because he
third
dies
freaking
every
time.
series. Every series he dies.
Yes,
and
that's
it gets more tragic every time. It's like you'd think it'd get funny, but
I
no,
think-
they genuinely make it tragic every time.
I think the worst was Tamers. That was the worst.
Yeah. Well, that's because we saw the ramifications on Jerry. For those who don't follow this, there's this character called Leomon who is an anthropomorphic bipedal lion. And in
he's
Digimon, you have
awesome.
digital monsters. He is an awesome character. And he's got in English, he had a freaking awesome voice actor. But in every series, they kill him off at some point. And
Whatever version there was in the series at
Yeah.
the time.
And because he's a digital monster, most of the time, he reboots. He's a digital file and he comes back. But in Tamers, the third series, they didn't. They killed him off and he was dead for the rest of the series. But the thing is, the child who the digital monster's kind of like Pokemon, the child he was attached to, you saw what happened to her of dealing with the death of a loved one and how it resurrected fears from when she was very small and she lost her mother to illness. And you watch this, and it's a good, 20 episodes of watching her fall into deep mental illness and scars of grief.
She's getting taken over by the big bad because of that grief, and she becomes the big bad.
And it's a giant metaphor for depression, yeah, of what can happen to somebody if their depression, their grief is left unchecked. And she does at the very end get help from her friends. And it's when you're an adult looking at this, you're thinking it's a great analogy. But when you're a child just there going, holy fuck!
I don't know, I was. I also want to point out that the writers of Tamers were the same writers for Evangelion.
Really?
Yes!
That explains so much.
everything makes so much more sense now. It makes so much more sense.
The guys who
case,
wrote
I'm really
Evangelion
surprised.
turned up to write Tamers, and it turned out to be the darkest shit.
Holy shit. I'm really surprised that one of them didn't end up jacking off in a hospital then when Jerry was ill.
Oh,
Because Anno
God.
wasn't directing it, that's the thing.
Ah.
It was
But
just the writers.
even beyond Tamers, like if you were a kid watching the first season of Digimon and you were only really used to like really kid-friendly anime at the time, like
Pokemon.
like Dragon Ball or Pokemon, yeah, or things like that, Digimon honestly did not shy away very often from killing off of its characters, especially in the tail end of the series when the Dark Masters were involved. Like, you see poor Waymon get his head blown in half near the end of that.
I'd forgotten that.
That was so... You're invoking my childhood and the sadness.
Yeah.
See, I kind of liked in Digimon, it seemed like they had more realistic family situations as well. There were characters who had divorced parents, there were single parents, and the one episode that stuck in my mind is, and as we're saying Kairi now, because now I think of Kingdom Hearts whenever I say Kairi. Kai's little sister is really sick, and he's...
Kari.
Is it Kari or Kairi? I forget now. The little sister of Tai.
Kari.
She was
Like
really
Hikari.
sick. And look at me going all American saying sick instead of ill. She was really sick, and he was just getting very aggressive about wanting to find medicine for her. And it turns out it's because when she was little, he went out to play football and she was poorly, but he took her with him because he wanted to go and play football. And his mum, he ends up taking her to hospital. His mum slaps him. It's like,
Yeah,
what did you think you were
that.
doing? You knew she was sick. And this is the kids' cartoon. This is the late 90s, where that sort of shit did not get on the air. And yet you've got this realistic parental... She apologizes afterwards and she feels really bad. But the fact is she slapped her own son because her daughter nearly died because of his negligence. And you're
Well,
like,
I think in
that's
the
quite
dub,
heavy.
they cut out the slap, I think, and they showed, like, the aftermath. I think that's how they got away with it.
They did
Yeah.
in the cut version. But see,
Yeah.
I remember this because in the UK, it was played on two different channels. It was played on Sky and it was played on CITV, Children's Independent Television. And on the Sky version, it was the cut. And then later on, it would be playing on CITV because they were terrestrial and they would always get everything later. And I remember being quite surprised when I rewatched these episodes and thought, I don't remember that bit of the scene. And there were always little bits in there. Like, for example, when, what's his name? Matt and Tyre are about to face down this gigantic monster. And one of them holds the other's hand and goes, I'm not holding your hand because I'm scared. No, totally. I'm just making sure you don't run away. Oh, yeah, me too. They cut that in the Sky version, but they left it in the CITV version. So there is an uncut version with the slap. And that's the version I saw and went, holy shit, that's deep.
The biggest part that was cut for me was they cut out Wizardmon's death in the English version, at least the one that was broadcast over here.
Wait,
which
really?
was
I explicitly
Yeah, and,
remember
like,
Wizardmon's death.
Ganamon was like, no.
No, he still dies, but they cut out like his eyes closing and his body going limp, and
Yeah.
Kari having like a bit of an emotional breakdown that triggers Gatomon's evolution into Anjouamon.
They showed
Surprising.
it in a
Good
recap.
name. I love that still.
They showed it in a recap, and I remember going, wait, that's obviously, like, actually in the show. Where is that scene? And I remember going back through the Japanese, because that's always uncut. And I was like, oh, this is so sad.
Also,
Just speaking
I
of
find it
cuts for Wizardmon, just very quickly, sorry. I kind of love that Wizardmon, when he got to the human world, started drinking alcohol, but in the dub, they made it hot sauce. He's like, oh, it's hot sauce. It goes with everything. You're like, that's clearly booze.
yeah,
I didn't notice that.
good old
Yeah.
fruit juice.
Yeah, that was like
Yeah.
Sonic X level. Let's turn it into a salami. Go on,
Donuts.
Goombasa. Sorry, I interrupted you.
I was just going to say, I kind of like the fact that they cut out scenes like that, which are very important emotionally to the episodes that they were in, but they felt it was perfectly fine to leave in a blatant catfight between Lady Devimon and Anjouamon near the end of the series. Like, it's the two women pulling their hair and slapping the shit out of each other while flying
I remember
around.
that.
Yeah, there's even one of the characters, one of the human boys goes, I know I shouldn't be watching this, but I can't take my eyes off of it.
I never
See, I
got
didn't
that
take
joke at the time. I did as now. I was there going, wow, senses, you're asleep at the wheel.
I thought it was just like saying, oh gosh, I can't look away. You know, when you're
Like a
paralyzed.
train wreck.
I didn't realize it meant sexually.
I didn't either. So it's only when I look back years later, I was there going, holy shit. Because Digimon, for those who have never seen this show, it holds up. It's very much a product of its time. It's pure 90s, but it holds up. You go back and watch that, and you get invested in those characters, and you care what happens to them, and you laugh your ass off at some of those jokes.
Go watch Tamers and then cry.
Watch the original before you watch Tamers, because at the very least, it sets up the idea of what the fuck a Digimon is. Tamers just kind of went, whoop, and off we go with that one.
No,
Well, because in
Tamers is
Tamers,
like the big deconstruction of everything that ever was Digimon.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that
and
means you
that
need
one-
to construct it in the first place before you can deconstruct it.
Which one's Tamers again?
that was season 3.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
third
Yeah,
one.
no. The 3, I couldn't remember the 3, but I remember 3. I was just like looking at going, huh? And I left it after 3.
Rika, Takato, and Henry.
Yeah, and the less we say about season 2, the better.
I like season 2 though.
I liked it at the time.
I didn't even at the time.
I was still riding high off the first season, but yeah, you go back to it, and there's none of the character development, none of the nuance of the first season.
Aside from Black
the writers,
Greymon.
no, even then, like they botched his character pretty friggin' hard because there were like 4 or 5 different head writers that were working on that series, and nobody had a clear idea of how it was supposed to progress.
Black Greymon was literally the best part, in my opinion.
I am so mad they took away my ship. Like they
Yeah,
made it
you
in
and me
Japanese.
both. Hang on, are we talking Tai and Sora?
I was
Or
talking
Kari
TK and Kari,
Yeah, we
and
go.
like
They're the
the
two
scene-
that everybody wants.
the scene, like I think the first episode I watched of 2 was the beach episode where she kept getting
The
pulled
only
back,
good one.
and she's like, Ty,
Hang
get
on,
him
that
on.
was the Evangelion writer again. That was him.
The New York Express or whatever it was, like some sort of mail, but in the Japanese she actually does call out to TK. And then like at the end of everything, like everyone was looking at who was with who and which kids look like everything, and everyone's like, how is TK and Kari not together, and why is that kid's a school child? What? Why aren't they together? Why aren't they together?
I think the ending of 2 just pissed off everyone because it took all the
So-
characterization and just threw it out the window for some funny jokes. Like, Matt is now an astronaut. What?
Really?
You get a
Ty is a
Digimon. You get a
politician.
Digimon.
What?
Everyone gets a Digimon.
And Davis is on the cover of Time magazine for being a noodle tycoon.
Davis can fuck off. He
Yeah,
can,
Davis was
he can
annoying.
die in a fire. Not worthy of being a goggle boy.
He was my favorite character.
When you can say that season 5's protagonist, I felt had a better arc.
I never got as far as season 5. I only got as far as Tamers.
No, season 5 is like considered to be one of the. It's right up there with 2 in terms of people who don't like it. I will
Okay.
say I don't think.
What's
it's.
it about? What's the premise?
So
Just to get-
the
put me in the loop.
premise of Digimon Data Savers, or whatever, like I'm mixing up the Japanese and English names, but so basically the Digimon come from their world into ours, and we have like our own like Men in Black police force of Digimon fighters to take them down, and our main character encounters an Agumon and engages him in a fist fight in the first episode,
As you do.
and they become friends. And then they become part of the Savers and, save the world from all the digital threat that's coming through the digital world.
You sure that wasn't a fanfic?
I'm getting a Detective Pikachu vibe, although I haven't watched that movie.
I'm getting a fanfiction vibe. It's self-insert.
The main character is sort of like a meathead who tries to solve all of his problems by punching. Like spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen it, not that you really need to go back and watch it. The last episode, he punches what is essentially God in the face.
Yggdrasilmon!
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Hang on, what? Did you just say Igris? What? That the nose tree is.
Yes.
Yggdrasilmon, yes.
Fuck did they make that out? It's a tree! I thought Pokemon was the only one who went stupid like that.
Our main character, in English dub, Marcus Damon, in the Japanese Masaru, he literally evolves Agumon by first punching the enemy Digimon to get the energy to digivolve him.
As you do.
Wow. That's Digi
Yep.
abuse.
Can I just cut in for a second? We've been talking about Digimon for ages and Mami hasn't said a word. Have we completely let you... No, have we... This is off the record. Have we completely left you behind?
You're okay.
I remember you saying you're not really into anime, and this has been like 20 minutes solid of us waxing lyrical about an anime.
Fuck you. I am into anime. It's just my
No, I'm going based on what you
experiences-
said.
My experiences with Digimon are limited. It was funny when you brought up that PlayStation game because I still love playing it on the PlayStation, the Digimon games. But I didn't have a very good understanding of what the fuck Digimon were, and all I can remember is that I liked the one that turns into the wolf, the one that Matt had.
Garurumon.
Specifically
Gabumon.
because Matt had it, and that game had a lot of Digimon shitting everywhere.
Yeah, that was
Oh,
during the
yes,
the
that, the
Tamagotchi era of
Yeah.
making your digital animals poo and clear it up.
That's why it
goo.
was rated
Ugh.
teen, was because of the poop. Also,
Poop.
probably because there's a Digimon in that game where when you get it, will eat poop.
Oh god!
The one with
Yeah.
the rat.
yeah.
I do remember
Yeah.
actually in the anime, there was, as a kid, I remember in the first season of the anime, and this is just occurring to me now, that there was a giant sentient pink poo.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, the one that had a crush on Mimi and a rat.
And they used to throw. And at the time I thought, they look like little poos, but they're pink. They can't be. They must be little blancmange or something. And it turned out that no, they were poo. But the
Yeah.
dub wouldn't call them that. It's just like, okay, so we leave at the big emotional moments, but we leave in the pink poo throwing. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember like when the Dark Masters were introduced and the rat was the one that survived and Mimi finds him and basically this rat has this heartfelt moment about like he lost his best friend and is it bad I didn't feel so sorry for the giant poo that died? I was like,
No, because it's a giant poo. We kill them whenever we flush.
He was kind of a one-off villain.
I'm like, am I supposed to feel sorry for this guy? I saw no character development from this guy and he was a creep who was perving on a little girl.
Because it was a giant poo. We're
I
kind
know.
of used to killing them. Right, okay. This podcast went in a weird direction.
It went into
Digimon.
poop. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm more surprised that we talked about sentient poo before we talked about dick jokes. That's a first for any podcast I've ever been in.
We got all those out of the way before we started recording.
True. That's going to be in supplementary material.
No, I mean even before the supplementary material.
Before you even got here.
I guess.
Mostly because of
Apple
Starry.
Dick. I remember this.
No, there's no proof.
Okay.
There is no recording, therefore it never
Somebody
happened.
To explain.
furnish our listeners with what Apple Dick is.
To explain, Starry was trying to remember a ship name, and she started with Apple. She was
I'm-
trying to say Apple Dash, but what came out of her mouth was Apple Dick.
It's
No.
because I've had
And
2
then- No, it's
hours
even
of
worse.
It's because I had 2 hours of sleep and I cannot word, and I was like that.
Mammy, how was it worse?
She wasn't trying to say Apple Dash. She was trying to say Rarijack.
Rare Jack, yeah, that's the word.
Hang on. How did you get Apple Dick from Rainbow?
She was thinking of Rarijack, but only could remember Apple Dash, and that's what came out of her mouth, except for Apple Dick.
She couldn't even remember that. She remembered Apple Dick.
I muddled everything up. Everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Okay, so you're trying to think of Rarijack, and instead it came with Apple Dick. Are you imagining some very interesting plot material there?
No,
my.
no.
It certainly seems so.
No, child, no.
I had posited that Apple Dick should just be the name for the Soren and Pie
Oh
ship
my
from
God.
now on.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay, well, to apologize, since we just asked Mammy about her childhood traumatizing media, Starry, what was yours?
Okay, so we've established that I was a bit of a scaredy cat as a mini-me. So, there are a lot of times. Well, actually, you're right, because like Walking Dead, like a few years ago, I was like looking at the pillow, going, "Wow, this is a very detailed pillow." I think I was probably quite annoying for my mom to deal with when we watched movies, because I would be out of the room a lot of times, like when we watched Gremlins, when we watched movies my dad thought would be good. I cannot remember the name of it. There was like this one where I've got so many, I'm sorry. There was one, I can't remember the name of it, and I just remember the dog died like very early in. It was like an earthquake or something, and the boy who owns the dog watched it happen, but the dog comes back because they turn it into a robot or something. But the dog dying set me off. Running out of the room
I'm
crying.
100% with you with that one. I can't deal with dead animals, especially dead dogs.
There was Watership
Shiloh.
Down.
Remind me to never get you guys into JoJo.
I'm already there.
I know.
Blame Wooden.
I got part way through the first episode to where the dog dies, and I'm going, nope, I'm noping out of here.
I
Can't
refuse to
forgive a
watch
show that does that.
I refuse to watch one because I know that's coming. I remember watching Watership Down. My dad had been reading the book to my brother and I when we were little, and he got my brother the VHS of Watership Down. And the scene where they're describing the Warren being dug up, my dad looked at me and said, "This is not how it goes, just so you know. They're a lot more humane about." I just remember him having this whole lecture because I was very scared.
He lied.
He lied.
He did lie. That's exactly how it goes.
It was like horrific because they were like showing the rabbits dying and stuff, and then
Yeah.
the roots being pulled out, it's like roots and trees and corpses.
Yeah, that's how it happened in the English country. We're talking about the 70s when they literally released myxomatosis to kill off the rabbit population so they could thin their ranks and build on their land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that oh, that's right. I was remembering one last night is my grandpa had when I was little and we'd go visit my grandpa up in Queensland, he had only one child's VHS movie, which was Dot and the Red Kangaroo, which is a good movie.
Oh my god, I remember that.
The bunyip scene had me cowering under the bed.
I don't remember. I have vague recollections of this, but
I
I
don't
remember being really, really small and watching that on a black and white TV in a caravan in the rain. Like it's a clear, seared into my consciousness childhood memory of watching Dot and the Red Kangaroo. Fuck, I'd forgotten all about that.
I don't.
Caravan in the rain? Were you moving to Oregon?
No, it was
Which
a
is-
British holiday.
You're prairie folk now?
I need to point something out. Mami, a caravan is the word we have for a trailer.
That doesn't make it any better.
It was like one on its own. It wasn't a caravan of trailers. It was
I'm
like
picturing oxes. Like your dad with a piece of wheat in his mouth.
we weren't like migrating to the west.
Oh my god.
You in the back of this tarp.
It wasn't the Oregon Trail. It was a campsite up north.
I don't know. You're English.
The thing was weighted down with bricks. It was literally a trailer park that we spent a couple of weekends at. Oh my god! I'm just imagining you. It wasn't the Oregon Trail.
You can't say caravan to an American.
None of us died of dysentery.
I hope not.
Or none of
Scribbler died of dysentery.
None that lived to tell a tale anyway. Scribbler might be covering something up there.
None of us drowned crossing rivers.
That you know.
None of us.
That
None
you
of
know.
none of us died of infections.
You
Give
secretly
it
have an
time.
older sibling you don't know about.
Yeah.
Goombasa is frantically tapping on his button. Go on.
Well, it's a little bit different than what was being talked about, but to go back to Watership Down for a second, because I am genuinely curious.
Hi.
Starry, did you watch the new one, the mini series or
Do
whatever
you
it
mean
was that
the
was
Netflix?
released?
Do you mean the Netflix or the animated series?
The Netflix
The,
one from last Christmas.
I haven't seen the Netflix, but I saw the
Don't
animated.
bother.
I'm not. So funny thing with that is I told Xena about Watership Down and I sent him a link and we both watched it at the same time, which was showing the movie, the TV series, and the Netflix, and it was all the same scene and how it was all done. And I couldn't even bother looking at the Netflix one. It just looked like
What was the scene?
so you had Bigwig's thing, you had the rabbit chase.
This thing.
You had
Really?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I know
So
there
it had different
Those involved,
scenes.
but-
You had the farm scene, you know, like it had different scenes that were in like traditional scenes. So Bigwig's death, you know.
Oh, the bit with the snare.
Yeah. And showing like the difference, like the original had so much more blood, the TV series was sad, and the Netflix looked like Gary's Mod models to me. Just
Yep, look like crap.
T-Most. It looked bad, and I couldn't look at it. It was just too dark and stuff. But the TV
All the
series
rabbits look the same.
The TV series was good. They had a few changes, but I remember I watched, and I loved the fact that for General Woundwort, they had the original voice actor from the movie. For Hazel, he was Woundwort, and he had this line which was, "Back in my day, rabbits only fought rabbits," and I was like, You're not wrong there. You're not wrong, because back in your day, it was just rabbits fighting rabbits. And then the third series, they brought magic and stuff into it. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear. What?
Have you noticed at this point how much swearing there's been?
No, I haven't. I ducked away partway.
Oh, you've not been listening hard enough.
We've said dick at least 3 times.
But that's not a swear word.
Cunt.
What? Okay, Scribbler just... Okay.
Cunt.
That
Okay.
was beautifully timed.
Okay, so, yeah. Watership Down, do not bother with the new one. I fucking hate it. Watership Down is my favourite book of all time. Bar
Still
none.
have mine.
It's been my favourite book since childhood. I revisit it every couple of years now. I used to revisit it every year, but it's a bit of a time crunch now. I'm an adult. I adore that book. It's I love it. So to see the lack of care spent on it, and I know that sounds quite bad to say when it was like a big multi-million-dollar cross-platform project, but the voice acting was poor. They had such great voice actors, and they had such shit direction. Some of the creative decisions were either laughable or just damn confusing. Plot points were changed, left out, put in when they weren't there before. I'll give it this bit. I liked some of the backgrounds, especially in Cowslip's Warren, where the walls became bones and it looked like spines and things.
Oh,
and I
yeah.
liked that. That was good.
The Warren of the
else
Shining
was.
Wires, huh?
Yeah, exactly. They had James McAvoy as Hazel. How the fuck do you make James McAvoy give a bad performance?
I don't know who that is. Well, I'll just take your word for it.
He's Charles Xavier in the X-Men First Class movies. He is in Split. He is the villain with the multiple personalities.
Don't know that one.
He's been in lots of stuff. You probably know. He was Mr. Tumnus in.
Oh yeah, I know that one. That's
Yeah.
someone I know.
He's Mr. Tumnus in Lion the Witch and the Wardrobe. He's a phenomenally good actor. And I know that he's given good voice acting performances before, because I have the BBC radio productions version of, I think it's Evermore, the Neil Gaiman novel and TV series that they turned into a radio play, and he plays the lead in this, and he carries the show. It's so good, and a lot of it is based on his performance, which is pure vocals. So he can do it. So the director in that must have been horrifically bad to make him give a bad performance, and I can't forgive it for making all the rabbits look alike and turning Strawberry into a fucking dough.
Well, in the TV series that I watched, they had Blackberry. They turned Blackberry into a doe, but there was an episode they did which was showing that because they had Blackberry be the only doe, is that they showed what does did in the Warren. And because there was only one, the males had to help out. And they're like, this is doe's work. But then it backfired and they became very strong from digging the Warren out. So,
See, they kind of kept that. They tried to keep that. I must admit, that makes sense, what you just said, because they added a scene that I think was trying to do that in the Netflix special, but it was very poorly executed. And again, as a book fan, I just looked at it and went, the fuck? And it was Strawberry. Where the fuck was Strawberry a doe? And why did she come from Cowslip's Warren and talk like a twat?
I was gonna say, when my dad read the book to us, my brother and I would bring out all our bunny rabbit toys and have them. We renamed them all to be the characters, and we'd just snuggle with them.
Did you shred them? Rip them apart?
No. But I remember the biggest rabbit my brother had, which was a big blue one. We called that one Bigwig. It was such a fat rabbit. I remember when my brother had to give them up, I stole Blackberry and Blueberry, which was a yellow and a blue little rabbit. They were the only two I stole.
That's adorable. I actually still have a birthing gift I was given by a German relative who was just a rabbit doll that she'd made with green trousers on, and I called him Rabby, and he's still in my bed upstairs. He's 36 years old, I think now. But I did not realize as a kid that a rabby, and the way I spelled it, was in fact the word rabbi.
Oh, dear.
That was interesting when my mom took me into shops, and I'm going, I've lost Rabby. And they're going,
Okay.
what the fuck were these? What?
I had a Patch plush. Yeah, he was my companion in a Patch from 101 Dalmatians. And apparently when I was little, like little, I used to call him Spotty Dog. And so my dad has told me numerously, his name is Spotty Dog, he'll always be Spotty Dog. It's basically just having this whole rant at me about how Patch is actually named Spotty Dog.
I get that because I have an original Bluebell My Little Pony that I called Star because she had stars on her bum.
But my dad is so insistent even to this day.
Likewise, my mum still calls this pony thing on the window Star. I was like, Mum, that was 35 years ago.
So, like, I honestly, this one has like Disney like copyright claims. His name is Patch. No, it's Spotty Dog.
Mammy, you have a little knowing laugh there. Do you have a story like this?
No, I was laughing at the fact that you named your childhood rabbit Rabby Rabbit because it makes me think of Robbie Rabbit from the Silent Hill games.
Oh my
So
God.
I'm just picturing this little devil child with this creepy bloody rabbit and you still having it in your upstairs attic.
Come play with us.
No, it's not my attic. It's not in my attic. It's in my bed. He sleeps in my bed still. Like I have this
amazing.
plush toy collection that stays on the bed in the day, and sometimes I'm so tired when I go to bed, I turn the light off before I get into bed, so they just kind of stay in the bed when I pull the covers back. Rabby's always there.
That's so cute and creepy and cute.
Rabby the rabbit,
Sorry, Bila.
apparently. I wondered what that red light was at night. Oh gosh. It kind of stayed on the rails, to be honest.
Kind of.
Kind of. We'd still stuck to like childhood stories and traumas.
I think rails is a bit of a strong term here.
The rails have gone quite far apart from each other, but the wheels are still touching.
We jumped the tracks. We were in the air, but we'll hit the rails again soon enough.
Yeah.
Like instead of rails, it's more like a expected trail that you can just like trailblaze if you want to.
Almost like one going to Oregon.
Oh my god, damn it. I'm not gonna
missed
live that down, am I?
No, it's on the internet. It's forever now.
Fucking hell.
Just you in prairie girl dress, a little bonnet.
I need fan art.
No!
Oh my god, I can draw.
Oh,
Yes!
You had
Yes!
to say it, Iris. You
See,
had to say
Someone
it.
had to.
I'm thinking as usual, I'm like, Ebony, you should get on this, because usually when I'm not in a stream, but watching a stream, Ebony's usually there, and like, oh wait, we have an artist here. Isn't that convenient?
Not for me, it's not.
I'm not shitting you. I am writing on my to-do list right now, Scribbler Prairie Girl. outfit.
Yes!
It's happening.
Oh, no.
Oh god.
I've never even fucking been to Oregon.
I will cut audio
Yes.
for that. Production audio.
Oh god. What have you done, Iris?
What I normally do.
Oh god.
Roll the
Right,
well.
okay.
I am pushing this train back onto its tracks.
No.
No.
Yes. Okay, quick interjection.
Oh, go on.
When is Scribbler gonna do a Let's Play of Oregon Trail now?
I don't game, so never.
Do it. Do it.
No.
Do
Oregon
it.
Trail can run on potatoes.
Vote
You
in
can
the
do
comments if you want her to play Oregon Trail.
I'll die in
Yeah.
the first 5 minutes. Like, I'll
I
have
will
died
pro-
from
That's
dysentery
the
in
fun.
5
That's
minutes.
the fun. I will produce it. I swear.
See, I'm thinking
I
of the
don't even-
Facebook
I-
game version. I don't think that's the one you're talking about, though.
I don't have Facebook either, so haha, I can't do that either.
No,
Just download
It's up
it.
on it's up on browsers
Shush,
on
shush,
archive.org.
Stop it! Stop it!
An Oregon Trail can run on potatoes nowadays. It's no big deal for any computer.
Scribbler, I think you're doomed. So
No!
Scribbler, if you play Oregon Trail, with a few friends, I don't care who they are. If you play Oregon Trail with a few friends for a video, I will do the thumbnail for free, and whatever scenes you want drawn to interject when shit happens, I'll do those too. I want it to happen. I am so legitimately serious right now. That would be amazing.
I don't even know
it.
how.
I'll do
I don't know
audio.
how.
Halloween.
I don't know how to do live stream games.
Oh, I
know
can
how to
show
live
you.
stream.
But Scribbler, you got plenty of friends who can show you.
the world.
I didn't expect this today.
Really?
Just
It's
stop
brilliant.
laughing. Fucking Schadenfreude.
You invited me here, so.
Oh, God. Right. Moving away from current adult trauma to childhood trauma.
Pushing the
Yeah,
train way
I've-
back there.
Well, I've got two
Or
to
the
talk
caravan.
about. One of which I mentioned in chat before, which is the most embarrassing one. And one I think is actually quite a legit thing to be frightened of as a kid. And that's Jaws.
I have never seen that for
As a
good
kid?
reason.
Yeah.
The music. As a kid, I had no tolerance for horror and things, but music that seemed like something scary was going to happen, holy shit. And my
John
mum loved
Williams.
disaster movies and horror movies and thrillers and things from the 70s. So like my childhood was peppered with things like The Poseidon Adventure, The Towering Inferno, Jaws. No wonder I'm fucked up.
I've actually got a
But-
nice fun fact about John Williams and Jaws.
Go on.
So, like, he came up with like two themes for it, right? And then Spielberg was like, "Why not both?" And then it came out to the Jaws theme.
Have you seen the version some people have done where it's like you watch Jaws in a pool in inflatable rings?
Why?
Mami,
That's torture.
Because you live
There
on the
were
edge.
some hotels. Like, there were some hotels that had movie nights and set up like a projector screen in front of the pool. So I imagine those type of things.
See, I would just start thinking of Ghost Shark, because Ghost Shark can appear in any water, anywhere,
Yeah.
and get you.
Is this the work of an enemy stand?
Just Ghost Shark is the fucking best movie ever. It's so stupid.
No, I mean, there is a stand in JoJo whose power is exactly that: a shark that can appear in any liquid, including your tear.
But can it do the thing where it appears at the end of a banana slide and lets a kid slide into its mouth?
That is disturbing.
That is a visual in Ghost Shark.
It hasn't done that, but
Wait.
it's within that
Is
scope of
this-
abilities.
Is this movie from the asylum or?
Yes, it is.
There's
Of course it is.
I'm a-
Sorry.
Sorry. I sort of there's a reason why my parents never let me see Jaws or Titanic. I was a very paranoid child. Like, I'll give you an example. I'd be swimming in my pool, but I could never go into the deep end when I knew that the filter, it would do its bubbly thing, because I would think a shark was pushing its way out through a teeny tiny little tube and it was going to come get me.
You
Same.
You thought Ghost Shark before Ghost Shark. Mami, you did it too.
I didn't know ghost shark was a thing. As soon as I saw the bubbles, I would flail in the water back to the shallow so I could immediately get out of the water.
Mami, go on.
When I was a teenager, because growing up, my mom really loves sharks, so she like obsessively watched shark movies, and Jaws in particular, it was her ringtone. It was her ringtone when my school's office would try to call her, and everyone, including my friends, could hear it. It was like, she knows that movie so well that she has played it on the TV, been folding laundry in the bedroom across the house, not watching it, and said every line word for word with exact timing and inflection. She loved that movie. So I saw it a lot growing up.
She might be obsessed.
Just a might.
Has your mom seen Deep Blue Sea?
Deep Blue Sea was great.
Yes. If there is a shark movie that exists, she's seen it. I guarantee.
Baby
So-
shark.
Has she seen Ghost Shark then?
I am absolutely positive that she has. She has
Make
seen every
sure she has.
Sharknado movie. She loves sharks. So me and my brother got exposed to a lot of shark media. He still has a mortal fear of anything to do with bodies of water. Like he for the longest time would not go near the ocean. He wouldn't go near lakes. He hated water. And me too, come to think of it. God, this is why I was scared of water when I was a kid. But up to me being a teenager, like 16, 17, I would be swimming in the pool and I couldn't sit underwater with my eyes closed. I had to have my eyes open if I was in water, because if I closed them, I could not get the picture out of my head of just open jaws coming at me.
Yeah, that happened a lot to me too, and I never saw anything to do with sharks.
You come from Australia where there are sharks.
Yeah, but like, well, I mean, yeah, but I...
No, there's nothing else to say on that one, Starry. You come from the land of sharks down under.
I come from a land down under.
And if you're really unfortunate, they're under you.
Yes.
They're under your bed.
That came out way more pervy than I expected.
I come in riding on a shark.
Weird thing. I've literally had two traumatic, nearly drowning incidents. One when I was like about a year old, and another when I was like 5. And I've never developed a fear of water or swimming. I was literally swimming in a pool, and my dad is just wondering, why aren't you scared? You nearly drowned twice when you were little?
I just remembered like going to jump into the pool and like imaginary jaws of a shark would open up. I'm like, no, please, no. And I just hit water and it'll be fine.
That's how I got over my fear of water, actually. I used to be like
drowned yourself?
super terrified of it. Kinda, actually, yeah. I was like so scared of it that I could barely even take a bath. Like, I don't remember it, but my mom says anytime I got like up to my knees in water, I would just start screaming like it was gonna kill me. Probably because of Jaws, probably because of her shark obsession. And one day when I was 5, I just decided I'm about ready to be over that. So when my parents weren't looking, I went out onto the back patio of my grandma's house and bolted for the pool and threw myself in, not knowing how to swim. And my mom had to jump in her nice clothes and save me.
Goombasa?
See, all of y'all talking about having a fear of water, and I
Or lack
had a
thereof.
fear of, and I had a fear of showers.
What?
What?
Specifically showers?
No, I'm just remembering this now.
Bambi?
It was I was really, really, really young. I want to say like 3 or 4, and my parents let me watch The Brave Little Toaster,
Oh,
no.
God.
and it got to the nightmare scene with
Yeah.
the nightmare clown who fired nightmare water that turned into nightmare forks. And ever since then, I would go into the shower and I would see the water running. And my parents had to tell me this, and I would start crying because I thought the water was going to turn into forks.
Okay. I think the Brave Little Toaster is... I never watched it as a kid. I did not see it. So I didn't get it until I was an adult, and other people were telling me about it, and I got curious. And as an adult, it's not scary, but I can imagine that movie fucked up a lot of people when they were younger.
I was about to say, let's have a running poll on how many people got like scared as a kid by some of the scenes in Brave Little Toaster.
Well, just looking back at it as an adult and seeing the suicidal cars singing a song about life not being worth living anymore and throwing themselves into a crusher. That's fucking dark for a kid's movie. Sorry?
See, for me, it was just that one nightmare scene because I didn't pick up on a lot of the other undertones in the movie until I was much older.
Starry?
I'm just in shock because like I don't know this film. I've only heard about it. I just literally just staring at my screen with my jaw open, going,
Do you get nervous around forks?
no. I just the suicidal cars having a sing song about it and then throwing themselves into the abyss.
It was a crusher.
Goombasa, does that mean that
Same thing.
Goombasa, if you had a fear of forks and water, how did you deal with the Be Our Guest scene in Beauty and the Beast?
See,
God.
by the time I had seen Beauty and the Beast, I think I had gotten over it because my parents tell me, like I said, they had to tell me this because I was way too young to remember it myself, but it was a fleeting fear, but it was apparently a very bad one because I would cry whenever I saw the shower running when I was younger, but it only lasted for like a year and then I was over it. So when I saw Beauty and the Beast, I had absolutely no problem with that scene.
That's amazing.
That's good, because otherwise you'd never be able to eat or drink again for fear of forks jumping off a randomly appearing chandelier
Like
above
I said, it was a really weird fear, and I don't remember having it. I do remember being scared of that scene, though, but I don't remember it having that big of a traumatic effect on me.
If we ever meet in person, I am going to have to buy those little plastic forks that you can get in packs from the grocery store and just, like, hurtle a fistful of them at you.
You know you can still do damage with those. Because you don't poke his eyes out.
Maybe alright.
I wear glasses, that's not a problem.
See, I had Kaylee throwing fake apples at me because of D&D thing, and you're like, I'm gonna throw some forks at you.
That'd be okay.
He'll be fine. He's tough. Iris.
Yes. I wasn't.
You were tapping. I assumed you wanted something.
Web browsing. I'm sorry.
Okay. Fucking threw me off my groove there. Goombasa. No, he's gone BRB.
The whole podcast said, fuck you.
Oh, see, this is the difference between this podcast and them's writing words. I have not told a single soul to fuck off today.
No, you just did.
At least in this podcast, maybe to other people you have today.
You're so tame. Not.
This is actually quite tame. Literally, one of the very first podcasts for them writing words, we had Luna there, who was supposed to be the sweet virtuoso, and then she started talking literally about exploding Jesus bollocks. Yeah, that's still one of the crowning. Yes, the vampire blowjobs. And I'm not going to tell anybody what podcast that was from, because one, I can't remember, and two, I want you to go and listen to them all, because they're fucking hilarious, if I do say so myself.
Like a scavenger hunt.
Scavenger hunt for Jesus bollocks.
We'll find the one where Luna talks about blowjobs.
Alright, so, going backwards a little bit, I did say there were two things. One was Jaws, because the music freaked me out, and I would be screaming and pulled from the room. And another was it's an obscure movie, and I went back and looked it up when I mentioned this in chat, because I have such clear memories of it, and yet it is nothing like I remember. And I think it's a Bulgarian animated film that was dubbed by, I'm fairly sure it was Hanna-Barbera's voice stable in the 80s. And it was something called The Enchanted Forest. And it was utter shite. But it had something in it called the Thorn King. And the visuals about the Thorn King... yeah. To be honest, if Thornquill had looked like the Thorn King, I don't think we would have been friends, because this character really freaked me the fuck out.
He was basically a sentient... He was a sentient cactus, wasn't he?
He was, yes.
He was a little too thorny, huh?
His minions, it was the way the art style had drawn them. It was very limited animation, but it meant that it was very freaky the way that his minions were posed, and then would every so often just move very suddenly, and then the rest of the time there'd be a static image, which for a child was quite scary, because the only time they moved was when they were using these big fuck-off bladed axes, and they would suddenly go and crash them down on or around these other characters. And the character designs in that were horrible. They were all really unsettling. And I look back now, and it's very poor. Like, there's a pretty much a copy paste of Baloo the bear, who's just been coloured pink as a character in this. And the character animations, it's a single cycle being repeated over and over a lot. And yet, as a kid, my grandparents had this movie that my grandparents lived a couple of hours away, and we had to travel to see them every few weeks. And that my grandparents would put a video on in front of us, and sometimes it was something fun, and sometimes it was this thing, the Enchanted Forest. And it was clearly something that my grandfather had bought on sale from the local video store, because it was in an unmarked video case. Like,
oh no!
And the video cassette itself had black marker over the labels. And in retrospect, it was probably because had been a rental he'd bought, so they'd blocked out the barcode or something. But it just seemed this mysterious, fucked up film that he kept putting on for us to watch. And then suddenly there's
creepy pasta.
Well, as a kid, if you look at some of the imagery from this, I would like people to go and just look up the Enchanted Forest, but specifically the Thorn King scenes, where they are for a small, nervous child, really traumatizing. And even when, at the end, the Thorn King is given a potion and turns good, and he's even scarier then! He's awful to look at! His character design is pure garbage! And as a child, you're looking at this and going, I feel scared and I'm not sure why!
See, when you had first brought this up in chat, I had somehow misinterpreted the name. I thought you were referring to the movie Once Upon a Forest, which is
Oh god, that one, yeah.
Far less traumatizing, far more innocent. And I'm like, what in the world could have been in Once Upon a Forest that made her so scared? And then you actually showed us a trailer of the movie, and I'm like, I was way off.
Go and watch it at some point. Nowadays, it's a meme-worthy film. And it's the only reason I think it's not become a meme is because it's too obscure. Like I said, we had just this random blank video cassette, and that's how I found it. At one point in the trailer, they make a big deal of the fact it's award-winning animation, and it's like they're not even animating on the 2s; they're animating on the 5s, if that. It's awful stuff.
It's an artistic choice.
It's cheap, is what it is. The voice acting is, haha, I am Peter, the painter. Oh god, it's really bad. But as a child, it terrified me.
The more you say it's bad, the more amazing it sounds. I want this pink balloon recolor. That's my persona now.
Oh my god.
Oh god. Go and watch. I'll find you a copy to watch. I'll get hold of a copy, and you need to watch this. If I found a copy, a link to it will be in the description. Because
It's
I
gotta
want
be
people
out there somewhere.
Bound to be. If I found the trailer, but it's that kind of movie where, like, this movie doesn't get advertised. This movie is passed around furtively.
Like The Ring?
Like The Ring, yes. It's the children's version of The Ring.
You're gonna put your granddad's copy, the blacked out copy, into circulation, mailing it around to your friends.
Oh, hey, I found it.
You found it already?
Brilliant.
Yep, full movie in English on YouTube. First thing that came up when I just searched the Enchanted Forest full movie.
So, that's going in the description. I would like to know what other people think of this remnant fragment of my childhood that traumatized me for fucking years.
So I ducked away when you were talking about the Thorn
They
King.
grew out of his
Please
head.
tell me he had
No,
like
he had
the
he was a
crown of
sentient
thorns
cactus.
that, you know,
Hang on, I'm
biblical Jesus
finding
wears.
a picture of him. This won't go in the actual podcast.
Yeah,
by the way.
I know, but like
I'm finding a picture of the Thorn King just to show you, and I'll put it in
I just
the mumble
I
chat.
just googled this movie, and the first image that came up, that's a lot of racist.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, racist mushrooms and buck-toothed black
Oh, I
people
see him.
are showing up in the YouTube thumbnails that I'm looking at right now.
Holy shit, you weren't kidding about the racism.
That was the
Yeah.
first thing that came. That was the first thing in the search on Google.
Oh my god. God. I mean, older movies you're gonna get some, but ooh, they really said, oh no, all of it. Give us all of it,
And-
all the racism.
Yeah,
And this was the 80s this
this
movie
was the
came
late
out?
80s.
Jesus.
Yeah.
But you mentioned it was
I'm
like-
gonna look up what country this was made in, because I know this wasn't American and it wasn't English. I think it was like Bulgarian or
Croatian.
something. I'll have a look. Croatia, is that it? Yes, it's Croatian film. Apparently they gave no fucks in Croatia, apparently. They had other things to think about in the 80s.
Oh my god. Okay, no, the fox, the little fox character. That's just the fox character from the Rudolph 80s movie.
Exactly!
Recolored. What the fuck? What is
Oh.
this film?
Find it! Watch it!
God. Wow.
On this tangent.
Have you seen The Thorn King yet?
Yes,
have you
I
found
have.
The Thorn King? Which version, though? The traumatic one or the even more traumatic one?
I don't know which one because I just clicked images on my Google search, and there he is.
The one covered in spikes is when he's evil. The random one where he's covered in flowers is where he's supposed to be good, and he's even scarier.
I see both.
See what I mean? He's awful. That was to be
Oh
him
my
when he was
gosh.
not scaring children anymore.
Like my first thought was like, was it Kenny the sea urchin in SpongeBob? That was my first thought with this guy.
Need to watch this movie. Hang on, the Sea King on his waterbed. Have you found him?
Yeah, that's what I saw. I was like, which one is which? This is weird.
Yep, he's the Sea King, and he talks like this all the way through. He does a Nixon impression. They played him like Nixon.
Whoa.
The more I hear about this movie, the more fascinated I am by it.
This
And
little
yet, some of the background imagery is genuinely frightening for a child.
this
The Thorn King's castle is really scary.
I don't know how Mini-Me would have handled this.
this stoned green witch goblin. What?
Are they fairies? Because I scrolled down and there was an explicit screenshot of Foxbutt.
Yes, her one little animation cycle is her wiggling her butt and dancing across the screen. And they keep playing it over and over, and she's a French fox and just goes, hello, as she's doing it.
So many
Midori
future
being like-
fairies from this.
This film, it was just, it's this, I don't even know how to describe it in a single sentence. You need, go and watch it, please.
Gonna need an essay to explain this one.
Well, to be honest, if I wasn't going to get hammered with copyright and properly get my channel shut down, I would do like just a commentary with all of us watching this thing.
I'd be down for that.
Fair use.
I'd be down for that. We could just do an audio commentary.
Yeah, if you never showed it and you just like showed us like in a chat reacting to it, and you never played any of the audio from it, and it's just us watching it, that would totally work out.
Mirror the movie.
Somebody teach me how to do that and we'll do it.
Also, who would claim copyright of this? Who would be proud enough of this movie to claim it?
You would be surprised if they can make a payment. They
Hey.
will.
You would be surprised.
No,
Oh,
literally,
yeah.
someone will fake that they owned it and then get our money from it.
With those mushrooms, whoever made this clearly had no fucks to give about sacrificing quality for
I
profit.
don't give a shit.
Fair point. Well made. Also, I have to go real quick. I have to pick up my grandmother.
We can wrap it up if we need to. We've been going for an hour and a half.
This is true, yes, and I think we've run out of
Well,
things to talk about traumatizing us at this point.
I think ending on the Enchanted Forest is a pretty good one, unless somebody really wants me to say.
We're not going to top that, I
Well,
don't think.
On the topic of bad movies, I saw like literally the worst film I've ever seen. Like, so it was after my sister's college graduation. We drove down to visit some family members, and they had this movie playing. It was this Finnish film, of a Finnish superhero film, and it was so bad.
I've just put a link in chat just because
Oh
I'd
God, she's
forgotten about
stoned.
this character from the Enchanted Forest. It's quite literally,
Amy Rose.
it's
it is.
Amy
That's Amy.
from Sonic. It's
Just what?
This was oh my god! But this came
Did-
out before then, so that means did they
Yeah.
copy the Enchanted Forest for Amy?
Oh my god. Sega, why?
I was so terrified of this movie as a child, and I kind of love it as an adult because it's so fucking weird.
Okay, but on the topic of what Black Iris was talking about, we do now.
Sorry.
We do now need a podcast specifically for bad media and shit that we hated, because I really want to hear that.
That seems like a good thing for next time.
Hated. This is current hate. This is a movie that was released in 2017.
Okay, how about next time? Because if we wrap up this one about the media that scarred us as children, and we come back next time with the media that we hate as adults,
Yes.
we each have to come up with our own most hated movie.
I can't actually think of one.
Oh, you can by next time.
Oh, I would totally be down for that.
I'll let you like Google this. Rendell Dark Vengeance. Rendel.
Oh my god.
It
That
is.
title though.
It is Punisher fanfiction. That is it. Bad Punisher
Okay.
fanfiction.
We will go into that, and that'll be the first one we look at next time. Okay?
Yes.
You store up that hatred, Iris. You store it up good, and you vent it next time.
I have one. I just remembered there is one I hated, and it's an unpopular opinion.
Well, hang on to that popular opinion. We're going to leave all of our listeners with blue balls for earrings.
Huh?
Oh god, what? Sometimes your Britishism.
It had to make at least one dick joke.
Oh, I just got it.
I love British idioms.
I was letting the side down. Right, okay. So we have been we've been Babble Scribbler, but at this point we've just been apparently the Enchanted Forest fan club. We better say goodbye. Join us next time when we talk about hated media. And we may have other people in here with us as well, because this was a very last minute podcast. I'm amazed there's 5 of us in here, to be honest. Right,
Goombye.
so that is goodbye. Goodbye?
Goomba.
Goodbye, yeah. See, now I'm just thinking, Goombasa, my love.
Congratulations, you are now a folk
Goombasa.
song.
Yep. All hail our Lord and Saviour Midori. Right, okay. I have been Scribbler, and this has been Babble Scribbler. Say goodbye, Iris.
Goodbye, Iris.
Goodbye, Goombasa.
Bye, love you. Have a beautiful time.
Oh my god. Dummy Rizzo. Say goodbye, Mami.
I'm so mad that Goombasa didn't say Goombye.
Hang on. We're gonna redo this. Say goodbye, Goombasa.
Goombye.
Now say goodbye, Mami.
I'm so happy you forced him to do that.
I used
scribble
my
powers?
modly powers.
Bye, everyone.
Say goodbye, Starry.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Join us next time.